Welcome to The Lock Shop with Nielsen and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
Hey, happy Tuesday, Lock Shoppers. What's up? Nielsen with you in my basement in Edmonton like every other week. And Hustler, not in Winnipeg, down in Vegas, living that good life. How are you, buddy?
You know what? I'm great, dude. Listen, this was obviously something that had been a long time coming due to the pandemic. We hadn't been doing a lot of traveling. Ended up setting something up here with the D and doing a little residency for Winnipeg Sports Talk all week long here at Bar Canada in downtown Las Vegas, right on Fremont Street, right next to, and maybe, at the end of the program, I'll turn the camera. I don't want to screw it up right now, but I'm about, 15 feet away from the Circus Sportsbook, where I do have to go cash a Raptors and Mavs ticket from last night. Shout out to the Dinos. Oh, what a game last night. Still fired up about that. But it's been awesome. So yeah, we did our first show yesterday. NFL draft, of course, here. Take in some of the festivities in and around the draft coming up on Thursday, Friday, and into the weekend. And then get back for it's going to be a very interesting day in Winnipeg next Monday, with it being the locker cleanout day, as the Jets are not going to the playoffs. But looking forward to getting this NHL regular season finished up. And, our show next Tuesday, full playoff preview with series numbers on all the first-round match. This first round is shaping up to be one of the best I can ever remember.
Yeah.
We still don't exactly know who's playing who, but I can tell you right now that Minnesota-St. Louis series is going to be absolutely incredible. Obviously the Oilers are looking pretty good with home ice in first. We could get
Tampa,
that battle
Toronto,
of Alberta
buddy.
in round two.
That's going to be insane.
Tampa, Toronto. And by the way, we'll get to this in a minute. I don't have a team total on Tampa for their game tonight, but I will just tell you right now, take the over. They are exploding offensively right now heading into the playoffs, and they are scaring the bejesus out of pretty much everybody in the National Hockey League. 11 to 1.
Do you have your sheets there? Do you have your sheets? Are those your Vegas sheets? I love it.
I've got lots of sheets. Well, the funny thing is due to rules and regulations, depending on what state you're in, obviously do all my betting in Canada at Coolbet, but can't access it. So as I texted you last night, had to do it old school, getting ready for the games tonight. Grabbed the sheets from the book, went up to the room, and made a few picks. Here's the NHL slate for tonight's game. I don't know if you can see that, but we got it all there. But one of the things I don't have is like team totals. So I'll just add a pick in right now. Whatever the number is, take the over. The Lightning are absolutely, they are on fire right now offensively. So it's looking good. And I'll tell you what, hoops has been great. But this is a great setup for Canadians. This bar, by the way, is called Bar Canada. You can see right at the top. Unbelievable spot for hockey. Got here on Sunday night when I came in. I was hoping to catch the Jets Avalanche game before the Knights played. And I walked in here, and there was a lot of other things going on. I think they had hockey games on about 70% of the TVs in the bar. So they back it up. They've got all the Canadian beer here as well. So pretty darn nice spot to be hanging out for the week, getting ready for NFL draft, making a few picks, and having some fun doing both the Lock Shop and Winnipeg Sports Talk.
There will be a time where we will both be sitting in that bar doing Lock Shop. It's going to happen, and I cannot wait for that moment. I remember the very first time I went to Vegas. I went with my now wife, and my thing, I was into betting, obviously, already at that time. And I went around it was the first time there. We walked the strip into every hotel, and I went into every single sports book and took a picture. I was just like, I got to get a picture of this book. I got to get a picture of this book. She must
have loved
unlike
that.
anything you'd seen, right? I say, yeah. We go to Vegas. She's dating me at the time. She's like, who's this DGen that's just going around taking pictures of the sports books? So it's just like, well, it was me, man. I was very excited for it. But yeah, we've got lots to get to, obviously. And yeah, if you ever have any questions about Bar Canada and stuff, Huss is your guy. You can slide into his DMs, whatever, tweet at him. He can give you all the details. I have a feeling a lot of people are going to be making their way back to Vegas over the next little while. And it's definitely worth checking out because everybody likes to get down to Fremont there. Anyway, but a huge slate in the National Hockey League tonight. And I did look up the number. Tampa Bay over 3.5 goals is minus 185 or minus 182 tonight. And you know what? It was this game, and it was Minnesota, Huss. I'm looking around for value on them. And it's tough. Like -2.5 is even just like, not even plus money. You're like, where do I find value in these games? So I ended up trying some sort of regulation parlay I'll get to in a second. But start with your picks. Where are you going, buddy? What are you up to?
Well, and just quickly before we go, and we talked about this a little bit last Tuesday on the program. NHL favorites were 22-0 2 weekends ago. And I believe I tweeted it out on Saturday, if I'm not mistaken. Favorites were 11-1 in the league. So many of these teams that are destined for the golf course have essentially shut it down. Although let's say this, Jets had a hell of a game on Sunday night. I mean, they just gotten worked in that road trip against some of the top teams in the East. Came up with a big game against the Colorado Avalanche. But identifying those teams that have packed it in right now, any teams that have things to play for, there are some angles right now. However, I'm actually going to take a couple teams that are not favored tonight. We'll start off with those Tampa Bay Lightning. Listen, I had a nice ticket with Columbus on the in their last game as a +250 underdog. But I'm not betting them against Tampa right now. I think Tampa, as we mentioned, is just getting wound up, ready for next week. So we're going to take the puck line on Tampa at -1.5 goals to win by 2. I see here, I originally saw it at -140. It looks like it's -147 right now at CoolBet. Now, Florida has been the hottest team in the league, but I really do think that now that they know where they're at, they've been beating everyone. I think they maybe sort of take it easy, potentially rest a few guys, and that level of urgency might not be there. I mean, you'd almost be nervous if you went into the playoffs on a 15 or 16 game winning streak.
Yeah.
It might be good for the Panthers to lose a game. And I think tonight might be that one. So we got Boston as a slight home dog on the money line against Florida. I think Boston ends the streak. And then I'll take St. Louis. The Avs, as I mentioned, have lost 4 in a row. And listen, the Jets look good and played very well on Sunday night against Colorado. But Colorado seems like the definition of one of those teams that's just sort of waiting for the playoffs to start. And St. Louis, speaking of teams that have been streaking, have been one of the best teams in the National Hockey League. They already know that they are playing the Minnesota Wild next week, and I think this will be an incredible test for St. Louis. So I'm actually looking at St. Louis. I saw money line last night was +150. I see maybe a few people thinking what I'm thinking. It's come down to +137. So, I mean, that's probably a smaller play than the other games, but I will be on that game tonight. And then the game of the night is Vegas at the Dallas Stars. And I can tell you, Dusty, the first pick that I made when I got here on Sunday night was the Sharks +1.5 at plus money, +117. And that's, I will just say this quickly. If you're ever in Vegas, the best value on the board is usually betting against the Golden Knights. There's so many people that are just there. Vegas is playing, and they naturally line on it. So if you compare lines in Vegas on the Golden Knights to things like CoolBet, you do have an advantage taking the team against them. So San Jose, I was so nervous that Mark Stone was going to score that empty netter and cover, and then ended up going back the other way, goes in the net, 1 second left, and then they lose in a shootout, which creates a scenario tonight where the Dallas Stars can eliminate the Vegas Golden Knights with a regulation win. Bottom line is Vegas, and we're going to talk about this with Ken Bolke from Sinbin Vegas today on the show on Winnipeg Sports Talk. They've dealt with tons of adversity this year with the injuries and whatnot. This Robin Lehner situation is absolutely bizarre. They had the e-bug skating in the morning, and then all of a sudden he had said he's getting season-ending surgery. Well, he's the backup. Bottom line is they don't have it right now. Mark Stone is obviously not at 100%. And tell you what, the Dallas Stars have come up big in games that they needed. I think that home crowd's going to be fired up. They know what is at stake. A home game, beat the team, and get into the playoffs. I think the Dallas Stars do it. I saw it last night at -110. It's looking at -116. So those are going to be my 4 single plays. I will probably put the Tampa, Boston, and Dallas together in a parlay, and who knows, maybe add a third, maybe add the fourth leg with St. Louis for a big one. But I do like the board right now. Tons of options today, which is a far cry from last night when all we had on the NHL board was Philly and the Blackhawks. What a stinker that was.
No, thank you. No, thank you. I've got a 3-game regulation parlay and then a couple of totals that I'm going to go to as well. I was looking at, I love Minnesota. I love Tampa Bay tonight, but how do you possibly get any value out of them? And if you actually just parlay Minnesota and Tampa in regulation, it gives you almost even money. So if you want to avoid the Detroit Red Wings, who are playing the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight, nothing logically right now should be scaring me with this 3-game regulation parlay. But Steve Yzerman and the Detroit Red Wings always have me a little bit nervous. But you've got Tampa, who obviously you mentioned, man. They are firing on all cylinders. They've got 22 goals in their last 3 games. 2 of those games were against Toronto and Florida. So I don't think you have to worry about Tampa. Minnesota obviously still has something to play for, and they've got the Coyotes tonight. And then you've got, by the way, the Coyotes screwed me out of a huge ticket Saturday night because I had St. Louis in regulation and the Coyotes. What was that? I think St. Louis was up 4-1.
And they in the third period.
Yeah, and then they blew it, and then the Blues win in overtime. Like I was livid. I haven't been mad in a long time. I was pissed on that one. So I got Toronto. They should beat Detroit tonight in regulation. So those 3 games, just regulation wins. Not -1.5, just regulation, plus 166. And with the way favorites have been rolling right now, buddy, I'm going to be rolling heavy on this one tonight, I think. So that'll be my big play tonight. I'll go with the parlay. And then the other 2 totals I've got, no Ovi, Washington and the Islanders, under 6.5. The number right now is 6. So I bought it up to 6.5. I feel pretty good about that game staying under 7 goals. So that's a -156. And then I am going to go over on Pittsburgh and Edmonton. It's set at 6.5. -132 on that game. And I'm going to go with the Oilers, obviously trying to bounce back after a game against Columbus in which they lost. They will not have Darnell Nurse, which certainly weakens their blue line. So I think Pittsburgh will get a few goals in this game, but I don't think Edmonton's going to shy away from firing back. And of course, no Tristan Jarry for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So I'm going to go over 6.5 in this game, and hopefully watching that game, you'll be cheering for a few goals in that one, which obviously helps.
I have to laugh. The history of Steve Yzerman blowing up tickets in the lock shop is well documented. And the minute you mentioned that, I just sort of peered over to the book here, and I can't help but notice that the Red Wings are plus 375 on the money line on that game tonight. Don't worry, I won't do it. I won't do it. But I
bastard.
I couldn't help but kink my neck over a little bit just to see what it is.
I was wondering what you were looking at. Yeah, the sports book's right there. Is it like out the window, or how close are you to the sports book?
I am 15 feet from the sports book. It is literally at Bar Canada. At the end of that sign, there is a wall, and at the end, I will just do a quick turn.
I got to see the turn.
This up where I'm at, but I'll give you the full 360 of where we're at right now to finish up the lock shop. But looking forward to these games, and let's get to the hoops last night. Shout out to the Raptors. I said Raps in 7. It did not look very good when they were down 3-0, but what a gutsy win last night without Fred VanVleet and Philly. I'm kicking myself for not having the balls to take the money line straight up. They were just about a 3-1 underdog. They were 8-point underdogs and ended up winning, cruising. And my God, the Dallas Mavericks and Luka Doncic are back. That was one of the things, Dusty. I mean, you remember we did those picks before the NBA playoffs started. On Saturday night, I guess, I did a 4-game favorite parlay in the NHL. Had St. Louis as part of it. They almost blew it. It came through. And I was looking Sunday and looking at my account and wait a sec, this seems weird. Like something else is cashed. And I didn't know what it was. Well, it was that bet I made on Dallas, Utah over 5.5 games to get to 6. And the minute it was 2-2, that thing already cashed. So it was nice. The hoops.
That was a good call, buddy.
So far, I've really enjoyed it. And what I am regretting is if you recall, everyone was so freaked out about the Doncic injury. I mean, you could have got the Mavs at I think something like plus 150 for the series right now. Yeah. They look very, very dangerous. That being said, I got 2 plays, a slight play on tonight's game. I've been impressed with the Timberwolves at times. Other times they've been their own worst enemy. I know Memphis and their coach has been doing some incredible work in the media on the referees, saying that, everyone, all the calls are going against his team. And certainly, that could be a factor when they go back to Memphis tonight. That being said, Minnesota can hang with the Memphis Grizzlies. And, much like the Raptors last night, I think, when you're able to get 6 points in a playoff game, I'm going to take them. So give me Minnesota small play tonight. The play that I do really like, though, tomorrow is the Milwaukee Bucks. The Bucks are 10-point favorites against the Bulls. The Bulls are done. Still can't believe that this series is going to 5, and they were able to win a game in Milwaukee. But if you watched either of those games in Chicago, this is essentially done. I love DeMar DeRozan, no Lonzo Ball. Bulls are undermanned to begin with. And tell you what, I think Milwaukee is a team that we're going to be talking. Well, we'll see what happens against the Celtics. Man, they look good against the Nets. But give me the Milwaukee Bucks to run away with this one tomorrow as a 10-point favorite. And then we'll get to round 2 picks coming up.
Yeah, I'm going to go. It's funny. The Heat have covered the spread in 3 of the 4 games. The one that they didn't cover it in was the plus or minus 1.5. I had them in on Friday's lock shop. They ended up losing by a couple of points. They won by 24 points in game 4. I mean, they seem to have this series on lockdown. The line's actually 6.5. I moved it to 5.5. You're still getting minus 133. I think the Heat are going to finish it off, and I don't think it's going to be much of a push from the Hawks tonight. So I'm going to double down on the Heat here and try to make up what I lost on Friday. So I'm going to go Heat minus 5.5. And then the Pelicans-Suns series has been very fun to watch so far. And CJ McCollum, his point total is set at 23.5, and it's minus 115. And CJ McCollum, you saw it a little bit when he's with Dame. He's a big time player. Like, he's a big shot guy, and they've already got another one of those guys in Ingram. Like, there's a lot of skill on that side with the Pels. So far in this series, and I think he had 18 in game 4, but prior to that, he had at least 23, including 23 once. He had at least 23 in all of the other 3 games. So I feel like 22, 23 is CJ McCollum's low end in a huge game like this. So to see the number at 23.5, I think he could go off for anywhere between 27 to 30 tonight. So I'm going to go CJ McCollum over 23.5 and a rare player prop in our association bets. What's the buzz like for NBA right now in Vegas? How's the NBA playoffs? I mean, I'm sure it's plastered everywhere. Like,
oh yeah, I mean, listen, you go to most of the books, the games will be on with the sound. I mean, obviously here at Bar Canada, it skews a little bit more hockey, but with a light slate yesterday, it was all about the NBA games last night. And I certainly think as we get into the weekend, although with the Nets being out right now, the no LeBron, the Clippers, who are like a super team that are out. I mean, I love it, but maybe some of the star power is lacking a little bit. But I mean, listen, I think, hey, it's the first round. It's the playoffs. People are into the games, and I think it'll be the same thing once the NHL gets going next week. Certainly around the sports books, because let's face it, this is Las Vegas. People are betting on it, and they're watching it wherever they can.
All right, let's slide over to Major League Baseball, where we're both getting in on the Toronto Blue Jays today. A couple of other plays to make as well. Huss, what's your strategy for the Sox and the Jays here?
Well, right now I'm going to take the Jays and I'm going to lay the run line and get some plus money at minus 1.5. I mean, now obviously they had that great win on the weekend, nice series in Houston. I mean, they really do seem to be playing some good baseball tonight. But this bet and going with the win by 2, I think is more a nod to Kevin Gausman. I mean, he has just been great. Yes. I mean, exactly as advertised, exactly what they hoped they were going to get as a guy that they really needed to replace the big shoes and tight pants of Robbie Ray. And listen, he's been awesome. So plus 110 tonight. I think the Jays keep it rolling. Love that play. And then I'm actually going on a couple totals tonight. The pitching matchup between the Sox and the Royals for their rosters, for their rotations, is 2 of their better guys, both with pretty good ERAs, and neither of these teams are hitting very much. I was going through the White Sox game by game run totals. I mean, they've had like one good offensive output in the better part of the last week or so. And the Royals, I mean, listen, they once in a while they'll explode, but more often than not, it ain't happening. So I'm going to take under 9 in that game, and even more so the Miami-Washington game, under 7.5. Josiah Gray's on the mound. He has been, one guy that has been quite good. Listen, I think Miami has at times, much like the Royals, they'll have a big game and then they'll go into a slumber for 2 or 3. So I'm going to take a couple unders in the Major League tonight. White Sox, Royals, under 9, and the Miami Marlins and the Washington Nationals. Not a game I would suggest spending a moment of your life watching. However, you can check the scores and hopefully see a bunch of zeros down it and under 7.5 for another under pick tonight.
I'm going to go Blue Jays over the 4.5 team total. It's at -108. They get Pivetta again. Pivetta starting for Boston, the Canadian guy from British Columbia. And he started last week in a 6-1 loss to the Blue Jays. They put up 6 then. They got the total here at 4.5. So I'm going to say the Jays can cash 5 runs today. That's -108. And then the Dodgers have won 8 of their last 10. Every single one of those 8 wins has been by 2 runs or more. So I'm going to just continue to ride with the Dodgers. They're -1.5. I think actually the number at the book right now is 2.5. So I modified it to -1.5, and it pays -137. So I love the Dodgers -1.5 against the D-backs at -137. So just 2 plays for me on the Major League Baseball sked today.
Yeah, you know what? I'm just looking, and that's a good number as well. Dodgers right here are a -140 on the run line at to win by 2. And the bottom line is it doesn't really matter what the number is. They're winning by 2 or more pretty much every night right now. And
literally 8 of their last 10 games they've won, and all 8 are by 2. So yeah,
it's just crushing, just crushing.
That's one that's there. All right, not a lot of time to spend on golf this week, Huss. Not a great lineup for the Mexico Open. I mean, a heavy, chalky favorite. I mean, we're on them, but I think almost everybody's going to be on Jon Rahm this week.
Well, listen, okay, here's the list. I had to go, hey, do you guys have the golf odds? And this is what I got. It's like imagine the biggest bill at a bar. You're there for
I was going to say family grocery shopping receipt, buddy. That's yeah, welcome to my life.
I was thinking NFL Sunday personally, but whatever. Different spaces in life. Jon Rahm +450 at the top of the leaderboard. This is a glorified Puerto Rico Open. I mean, where you don't have very many of the top players. Listen, if you can stomach laying +450 on a favorite in a golf tournament, go for it. I probably won't be doing that. This is going to be I'm going to be basically putting my investments towards other things than the golf this weekend. I'm going to make 2 picks though. And just, I mean, the odds I'm looking at here in Vegas right now, Rahm +450, Abe Answer, who is a guy, I'm not surprised that he's the number 2 guy. He's 18-1. And obviously has that dual citizenship or, plays as a Mexican. So he'd love to do that. Finau at 21 and Gary Woodland at 22, Aaron Wise 26, and Kevin Na, Chris Kirk, Munoz at 30-1. Listen, this is Rahm's tournament to lose, but again, this is golf. I mean, we're talking about beating every other guy in the field. So I'm going to make a couple small plays, but one of them is my guy Tony Finau, and I mentioned that this is like a glorified Puerto Rico Open. Well, Tony Finau, his one win until he won at the BMW was the Puerto Rico Open. I think he can go in and listen, if Rahm runs away with it, I'll live with it. No problem. But I really do think that Tony, with the way that he has been playing over the course of the last month or so, ready to pop. And this is the sort of field that certainly could do it. And then the other number that just sort of jumped out to me is Aaron Rai at 50-1. Now, Rai is not a household name on tour, but he was awesome at Zurich last week. He and his partner were right up at the top of the leaderboard before Cantlay and Xander Schauffele basically just dropped the hammer on the rest of the field. So listen, at 50-1 in a weak field for a guy that was playing really well, I'll tell you what, I'll jump on that. Oh, I see Coolbet's got a +525. I'll tell you what, that's a bet. That's better, definitely better value than +450. So at 5-1, I mean, I probably will maybe put a little on. The thing is, to make it worth your while, you have to make a bigger bet. Then if he doesn't win, you're like, what the hell was I doing throwing a huge chunk on a guy at 5-1 to win a golf tournament?
Or you do what Gitz just said in the comments section. He goes, throw Rahm into an MLB parlay. There you go.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you say that. My buddy Jeff Feinberg going into things like, the Masters or the big events and past, like Rory's been a really short number consistently for a little bit. Yeah. So, he'll put Rory along with Blue Jays money line. And then, hopefully the Jays win. And all of a sudden that 16-1 is 35-1 or whatever the case is. So you certainly can do that. That is nice. We weren't usually able to do that last year in Coolbet. Now we can mix in the golf with some other parlays. So Gitch, I like the way you're thinking, my friend.
I got Rahm there as well. And then the other 2 plays that I'm looking at, one will be Gary Woodland, who missed the cut of the Players, missed the cut of the Masters. But outside of that, I know those are 2 big events, but outside of that, over the last 2 months, 2 T5s, a T8, and a T21. So this is a guy who, outside of the big events in which he missed the cut in, he's been playing extremely well. And I mean, when you're finishing, and it's kind of my case for Munoz here as well, buddy. He's been consistently T22, T28, T25, and all those guys that he would be behind aren't at this event. So I like his chances to, if he's going to get his hands on something, maybe it would be this one. So I'm going to go with Munoz at 34-1. But like with the numbers we usually see, like Tony Finau, I mean, he's your guy. We're always talking about Tony Finau. He's usually like plus 4,000, plus 5,000, and then like in a full field, right? Now here we are.
Oh, yeah.
He's a top 5 guy at 22-1.
Well, and the same thing. I mean, a guy like Rye or Woodland or Munoz, I mean, we're talking about 70s, 80s, 100s at times.
Yeah.
And, to be honest, we aren't really talking about those guys ever in a full field, but this is far from it. There's all sorts of names that you haven't heard from a while, or guys that are, able to get in on whatever, they've got conditional status on the PGA Tour, but they're not getting into, the majors or the bigger events. So they're here trying to make things happen in Mexico. So we'll see. I was thinking long and hard about Gary Woodland as well. Kind of figured that I wouldn't pop Tony and Gary Woodland right beside each other, but I certainly love that selection as well. It'll be interesting to see what happens. And then we're getting closer, though, to the PGA Southern Hills. I'm still looking forward to it. I think I told you on the Lock Shop before the Masters, I was all pumped about Scotty Scheffler and what he'd done so far. Picked him for the Masters, but also bet him for the PGA before the Masters at 25-1. And I think he's like 12-1 right now for the PGA. So got a nice ticket on that. We're definitely team Scheffler after, listen, that Masters win essentially bought the plane ticket to come here for the entire week. Yeah. So I'm on Scotty all year long. He has earned the support from yours truly. That's for sure.
All right, before we go, 2 things. We got to get the shot and also Winnipeg Sports Talk. You're doing that obviously from Vegas today. What do you got coming up?
Yeah, right here at the D Hotel, Circa Sportsbook, Bar Canada. What do we have? Brian Munns is going to join us. Winnipeg Ice up 2-0 is the number 1 team in the Western Hockey League, WHL playoffs. We'll talk to him about the weekend and get ready for Game 3 tonight. We'll have the latest on the Winnipeg Jets with Mike McIntyre. And we mentioned this huge game tonight between the Vegas Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars. Ken Bolke from Simbin Vegas is going to join us. I'm very interested to get a perspective of somebody that covers the team on a daily basis for the season that they've had, this ridiculous saga with Robin Lehner just over the last couple weeks, and the stakes going into what potentially is the last stand for the Golden Knights. So that's all going to be live at 1:00. Check us out on YouTube, Winnipeg Sports Talk. The award-winning Winnipeg Sports Talk.
Congratulations, my man.
You see that? Listen, normally that stuff, I wouldn't even notice it, but the fact that it was a category for the best radio station / podcast in Winnipeg, and we won it, considering our demise from the traditional radio industry, was pretty cool. All right, so here we go. So this is Bar Canada right now. That's
at
where
Circa, right? Is this where it is? Is that Circa?
This is at the D. This is the D.
Okay. Oh, at the D.
Hotel.
Okay, yes.
Right there. You can see here tables. There's the casino, and from where I'm at right here, we turn around. And here is the sports book.
Oh, damn, right there. Nice.
Right there.
Love
right
it.
there. So I had that in my background yesterday. I don't know, depending on the lighting. It's a really cool studio. I guess they do some of the Wiesn shows here as well. Okay. Guys came in, just before I started yesterday. They were recording something. The usual spot for that morning show that you'll see at times is in a studio just off of the main book over just beside at Circa. But yeah, it's a great spot. Canadians, if you're coming down here, you want to watch your teams, your hockey game, you're an Oiler fan, your playoffs, great spot to do it right here in downtown at the D Hotel. And I'll tell you what, Friday is going to be interesting. I was just looking at some of these draft props right now for Thursday night for the National Football League. And that was a very difficult thing to sort of dive into, but I probably will throw a few out on Twitter. So give me a follow on @Hustlerama. We'll boost it at Lock Shop Bets, and maybe a few plays going into the first round. I'm not too sure what Kuba has set up yet for that, but certainly here in Vegas, with the draft being in Vegas, a lot of interesting draft props. And what's different about this than most games is, you'll have a little bit of variation on, a line, Golden Knights -140, -145 at a different book. from what I'm hearing, there is some major differences from the way certain books are seeing the draft happening than others. And, if you wanted to do the Dustin Nielsen tour and take a picture of each one of them, you could probably do a pretty good job of figuring out where the best number is. But I'm a big draft geek, looking forward to it. Very interesting, this one, without the star power of the quarterbacks. It's a very different draft right now. We'll see how much movement there'll be. And a number of teams, including my Chiefs, with 2 first-round picks, and a number of teams that won't be showing up until Friday. So what is it? The 2 New York teams both have 2 picks in the top 10, I think. It'd be wild.
And Coolbet does have a bunch of NFL stuff already up, so watch for that. We'll be tweeting that out day of draft. Travon Walker, minus 200, first overall pick. Aiden Hutchinson, plus 200. And then Aquanu is plus 500 right now. So, but they've got, over-under for players and rounds and stuff as well. So hop online at coolbet.com, and we'll be tweeting some stuff out from both of our accounts. And, of course, give us a follow at Lock Shop Bets. When we hit 1,000 followers, we're going to give away a Lock Shop hoodie as well. Huss, enjoy it, buddy. I've got to go do some other work here. I got to take my kid to swimming. It's you have a good day down there, my man. All right? Let's just say that.
I will. Looking
Enjoy
forward
yourself.
to the show. And yes, we will get the band together in person here. Hopefully we can get Chris here as well.
Yes.
For the next time we're down here and do some Lock Shops live right here at the Circus Sportsbook. Have a good one, dude. And good luck with the picks tonight. We'll talk to you Friday heading into the weekend.
Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for downloading. For Hustler, I'm Nielsen. And, of course, huge thank you to our presenting sponsor, CoolBet. When you sign up at CoolBet, use the code LOCKSHOP, and that'll put a smile on your face. We'll talk to you guys later in the week.